This is Tim.
Tim Spencer.
That is correct, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Rock.
Well, you know who it is on the other end of the line. That's a good thing right there.
Yes, sir. Recognize your voice.
Hey, how's that? You seen the program? You seen the show, or because I talked to you before?
No, because you talked to me earlier today.
Shh, dang it! That was top secret right there. You just let that out.
Oh well.
That was
such his life.
That was classified G14.
Oh wow. Well, that's above my pay grade because I never heard of that classification, buddy.
Oh really?
PSI is the highest I ever got.
Okay, all right. This is going to be a question for the live chat. Where did I get that classified G14? First person in the live chat puts in. I got that from somewhere, and our people are going to help us find out. Well, I tell you what, Tim, welcome to the program tonight.
Thank you.
We're going to be talking with you about survivalism and basically, rural survival. And I don't know if there's a such thing as urban survival. We'll get into that. But anyway, I see that you were a veteran of the United States Submarine Forces.
That is correct, sir. Yes, I did about 10 years. I got hurt, and basically they fired me.
Oh, well, anyway, thank you for your service.
It was an honor and a privilege, sir.
Well, it sounds to me like you still got the military in you. Well, I'll tell you what, Tim, was it after your service you began to look into sort of survival things and how to, get along or live, say, off-grid or a little bit off-grid or more self-sufficient? How did you start getting into that?
Well, when I was in the Navy, the way I got into it, when I was at Submarine Squadron 18 in Charleston, I was put on what they called the emergency EEC, Emergency Something Command. I forgot it. It's been almost 30 years, buddy. But anyway, part of that was preparations for hurricanes. And I had never really thought about preparedness until that time, until it became my job. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry, Emergency Operations Command. That's what it was. I was put on EOC, not ECC, or EEC. But anyway, that's how I got into it, and that's what piqued my interest. And then my wife and family and I in Charleston in 1998 went through Hurricane Hugo, where we were literally months without electricity, almost more than a month without running water. Never did get telephone or cable television back. They didn't have satellite back then. And so we learned firsthand what it takes to survive in that kind of situation. And we have just built on it since then. And I am probably the most passionate one in the family about it. However, my wife is really, in my opinion, the brains of most of it. She thinks outside the box like I do, but she thinks so much more outside the box that she has saved our butt on multiple occasions.
Wow. Well, that sounds awesome. It sounds like you've been blessed with a good woman there.
Oh, I have. I've been married to her for 36 years, working on 37, and I wouldn't trade a minute of it for anything, sir.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Now, I've got you listed down as living in the Missouri Ozarks. Have you always lived there, or did you select that?
No, sir. No, sir. Originally, both my wife and I were from Florida. And when I got out of the Navy, we took a quick trip down to Florida, and we hadn't been there in several years. And neither one of us could find our way around our old hometown. So many new roads, so many new buildings. You know, what used to be a 2-lane road is now an 8-lane superhighway, new highways that never existed before, wall-to-wall people, and we did not want to live like that, and we didn't want to bring up our kids in that environment. And I remember being up in this neck of the woods one time to pick up a prisoner and how beautiful it was. So we flew out, we flew into St. Louis, Missouri, rented a car, headed south, and we found a 47.9-acre piece of property for $11,500, and I jumped on it and bought it.
Wow.
Cash.
Wow. Man, that's awesome for you. Good for you. Now, you say ordinarily Laurie joins you in the program, but I understand she's busy, and why is that?
That is correct. Yeah, well, we're having a Mother's Day shindig, whatever you want to call it, barbecue, get-together for a lot of family and friends, and we didn't feel like it would be proper for both of us to be gone for a couple hours. So she told me, go ahead and take this show, and if we do this again, she'll be happy to join us.
So you have an event going on right now?
That's correct, sir.
Wow. And you took time out with just to be with our edge listeners. Well, we appreciate that. Last week we had Doug Woodward on the program, and his wife, we was actually doing video Skype, and we could see his wife just casually walking right behind him, just doing her normal things there. It was really, really fun and homey. But anyway, so you went down to the Missouri Ozarks. Well, the Missouri/Arkansas Ozarks continually comes up to this broadcast through various guests as a sort of a location to be, or a location to escape to or establish into. Can you tell us why you think that is?
Well, let me give you my personal story on why. When I was at the Enlisted Personnel Management Center in New Orleans, Louisiana, at the Hebert Federal Building, I was in the submarine shop. I was responsible for E1 through E3 manning for all the submarines in the Atlantic Fleet. Manning, in other words, putting the right people into the right jobs. It was my job to order them in and stuff like that, make sure all the various boats had their full complement. And yes, I mean boats, strictly submarines, not surface ships.
Okay.
To make a long story short, we ran out of coffee in the office one day, and I walked across the hall over to the aviation office, and here was this map up on the wall, like a regular map like they used to give out at gas stations, of the United States. And there was pink highlighter, yellow highlighter, areas that weren't shaded in. And I saw this over a period of a couple of weeks. And I finally asked the Master Chief in the office what it was all about. And he flat out wouldn't tell me. But what he did say is, Tim, when you get out of the Navy, retire, get out, whatever, you move to one of the areas that doesn't have any highlighter on it, one of the white areas. Mm-hmm. Well, this area right here where we're at was one of the white areas. Now, remember, this was right at the height of the Cold War. My thinking was at the time that, these are the most survivable 3 places in the United States in case we go to the full-scale nuclear war. Well, my wife came to see me at work, and I sort of nudged her over to the hall, and we didn't go in the office, just looked through the door, and I pointed out the map to her. I said, see, that's what I was talking about. Well, besides not wanting to move to Florida, as my wife says, when John Moore asked her recently, why did you move here? She says, John, I hate snow, but it was because of that damn map. And that's her answer, and that really is why we wound up here where we're at, besides not wanting to raise our kids in a bad environment.
I can understand that. What about this New Mandarin Fault? Isn't that kind of like through that area?
Well, yeah, actually, we're about 150 miles from the fault line itself. However, we're very lucky. The last really big earthquake in the 1800s, it shook everything east of the fault, but did next to no damage, at least from what we can see historically, to the west of the fault. We were actually told by a geologist when we bought this place, or within a year or so buying it, that a 9 at New Madwood would feel like a 5 here. And it's all about the geology, apparently. I'm not a geologist. I don't understand it all. But apparently because of the rock, the rocks we sit on here, which are decayed granite and limestone and sandstone, apparently the energy doesn't transfer like it does going east through the sand and, the loam and all that they have east of the fault. Mm-hmm. So that's what I know about it. If I knew more, I'd tell you, sir, but I really don't. Mm.
So you feel like you're far away, but the whole Ozarks itself, isn't that sort of like on a plateau?
Yes, they call it the Ozark Plateau, and actually we live on what's called the Salem Plateau, and we just happen to be about 2 miles outside of the city of Salem. I don't remember how many thousands of square miles the Salem Plateau is, but it is a very good-sized area. You go south of us, you've got incredible beauty, mountains that are that actually look like mountains. Where I'm at here personally, it's just rolling hills. Go south, it's a lot of it's flat, not all of it. Go north, it is, after about 50 miles from our house, pretty much flat going towards the Missouri River. So, it's truly, truly a beautiful area, Daniel. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
All right. So you feel kind of safe there. Yeah, there's variations that on that plateau. Um, but so what you're saying is when it all breaks down, you can just throw a fishing line into the split that's going to split the United States.
Well, yeah, actually, my son and I were joking. He's in the Army, and we were joking recently. You know, if it splits and the ocean comes close, we'll just start ourselves a charter fishing boat business after a year or so when things calm down.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
I mean, it's a joke. Things aren't going to calm down if that happens.
Yeah.
But.
So where do you see sort of? I mean, the in my view, the odds of an earthquake and splitting the country wide open. I've seen that map too. It's interesting to look at. I don't, really. I've not really swayed one way or another. It's kind of like looking at a graph of somebody saying, global warming.
Right.
Here's what the Antarctica will look in 20 years after global warming. Well, it may or may not look like it. It might be bigger, for that matter. But I think it seems like to me, if there's chaos ensued or some kind of breakdown, it's going to be more sort of maybe a military type of thing. We've got a lot of conflicts building up over there with the crazy pie face man, Kim Jong Sicko.
He just launched another missile a little while ago. In case you didn't hear it.
Yeah, I did. No, I didn't get to see. Did that last missile make it off the launch pad this time?
Yeah, it made it 425 miles.
All right. Now I did see where it said that actually fired it at South Korea. Did they make it there?
No. It went towards Japan.
So it fell into the sea in Japan?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. Well, I am absolutely sure I saw a headline that said missile fired at South Korea. Maybe
those initial press reports. Whenever something big happens like that, the initial press reports are always very subject to error. Mm-hmm. They repeat what they're told, but the people telling them might not know for sure. Mm-hmm. But as of about 5 minutes before you called me, the latest news report I saw by the date timestamp said it was fired 425 miles, landed in Sea of Japan. Yeah. Now, that may be inaccurate also. That's just what I read.
Well, I'll tell you what. But anyway, the boy is firing all kinds of missiles out there, and he's just a loose cannon. He's a psycho, okay? He's a psycho with a nuke.
Yeah, he is. Yes, he is, exactly.
Now, I'm just wondering, who gave him the nuke technology?
Well, I don't know. Okay, like I said in my message to you, if I don't know, I'll say I don't know, and I truly don't. Mm-hmm. I suspect that the technology was probably gleaned open source. I doubt if Russia or China actually gave it to him, but there is so much information you can get right off the internet. I mean, there's enough information on the internet that a man or woman, whoever, a person, with the right technical expertise, could build a Nagasaki or Hiroshima type bomb in their garage. Mm-hmm. Providing they can get the materials. There's enough information to tell them how to do that.
Mm-hmm. So obviously he's a nutcase with a nuke. And it looks to me like on the way out the door, Obama gave the nuke technology to the Iranians, or at least the money to buy it in his swindling act over there. And it's interesting how he managed to do that sort of as he's walking out the door, just give him billions of dollars and his boys over there, and then just walk away. Now we're going to have to deal with that, just like we had to deal with Pie Face. It wasn't dealt with. And
right.
The thing of it is, I mean, from a biblical standpoint, it says evil men triumph when good men do nothing. The fact is, there are evil people in the world. And liberals in general cannot accept that fact, and they have been running things for the last 30 years. They run the media, they run the government, they run the educational system, and that's just one thing they cannot grasp. And I don't know what it is. In fact, for the legal immigrants that came here, they are second-class citizens to a liberal as, say, a illegal immigrant. Somebody that came from Mexico that paid their lawyers, waited 20 years, sweated it out, went through the bureaucracy, and now there's a whole group of people that the liberals want to just jump in front of them. And, they don't see that as an evil thing or as a bad thing. So I don't know that they even believe there is a right or wrong. I think their view is right is whatever forwards their mission, their belief system, their agenda. That is, to them, that is truth. Of course, it's not.
Well, I agree. I absolutely agree with you. Oh, excuse me, Daniel. Sorry.
It's all right.
A little bit of coffee went down the wrong way. I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, no, I absolutely agree with you. And the other thing that gets me also is all these feminists joining up with Islamic causes. And, the information is there to what Muslims do to people of the feminist persuasion. I mean, they stone women whose hijabs are not tight enough. If they have a piece of hair sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
Women are not allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia. And they want to bring this influence into this country. I mean, it's just silly. It's stupid. Not even just ignorant. It's stupid. And, it's the same way with immigration. We know for a fact the statistics show that a lot of illegal, not all, a lot of illegal immigrants commit serious crimes. Now, they've already committed a crime by coming across the border illegally. People in general, especially the media, seem to forget that, or they forgive that. But they're already criminals. All of the illegals are already criminals. That's why they call them illegals.
Mm-hmm.
And it frustrates me to no end. These sanctuary cities and stuff like that are just total frustration to me. Of course, I no longer work for the government. There's nothing I can actually do with it. I live in a small town where, to the best of my knowledge, there are no illegals, or if there are, I guarantee there's less than 10.
And really, it's not. And just to clarify, for at least from my standpoint, you sound like a decent, honest type of person too as well. Nobody hates illegal immigrants. It's that if we do not have a nation of laws, we don't have a nation. Typically, the people that are coming here are coming from nations that don't have laws. That's why they're trying to escape. So the first thing you do in a place where you don't have laws, where you have chaos, anarchy, and for Venezuela, cannibalism, why would you want to go to another country that has laws and start breaking all of their laws? You're trying to turn it right back into where you came from. So it's not that people are against them. There's just a right legal way. And if they can choose to not obey those laws, why can't I choose to not obey any law that I obey? So there has to be laws, and to be a citizen of the United States has to command from that person respect for the law. And the other part of that is nobody is supposed to be above the law. But Tim, we know that the government officials in general are above the law.
Oh, absolutely they are. I mean, look at the prime example, Hillary. That is the number one burning, shining example of people that are above the law. Now, we have high hopes that with Sessions in office and with Comey gone, that Hillary might actually get prosecuted. Mm-hmm. I tend to doubt it, but boy, it sure is a pipe dream of mine to see her in the dock, getting read the Riot Act and being sentenced to whatever she actually deserves under the law.
Well, it's the Republicans. I have no use for them too, and I tried to say that in my ranting points. I don't know if you've ever seen that part of the program. I railed against Democrats today, but I could have just as easily railed, and I should. In fact, I think I'll be Tim. I'm what you call an equal opportunity offender. So next week I'll go.
Good, me too.
I will go after the Republicans next week if people think that I'm a Republican. No, it's just Democrats are much more advanced in their attempt to destroy the country. And their aversion to the rule of law. They hate the rule of law. The sanctuary cities that enshrine illegal activities and law breaking are ran by Democrats.
That is correct.
The Flint, Michigan had water contamination. It was run by Democrats. Every city that has riots in it is run by Democrats. I'm not making that up. It's not that I hate Democrats. I'm just saying that's the way it is. Let's point blank call a spade a spade. So, Republicans, on the other hand, they're a bunch of ussies with a P, and they say, we'll fix things if we could just control the Congress. So they got it. Well, that didn't work. We'll fix things if we can control the presidency. Well, they got that, and they're still not doing it. Why isn't anybody in jail for all these emails which violated national security? Hillary Clinton was sending classified emails to Anthony Rope-a-Dope Weiner, who had child porn on his laptop. How come somebody's not in jail? I do not. How come he's not in jail? Weiner's out there. He's a deflated wiener, and that's why he's going after little kids. So I don't even know what his deal is.
I don't either. But Daniel, one point I'd like to make. Under Title 10 United States Code, remember when Comey came out and said there was no intent on Hillary's part or her staff's part to improperly handle classified material? If you take a close look at Title 10, when it comes to the penalties, intent, or not the penalties, but the statute itself, the intent is nowhere mentioned. It's either you did or you didn't. Intent has no bearing on it. And when he said no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute, I beg to differ. I talked to 2 or 3 that would have been delighted to prosecute.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, and that was a little rabbit trail we went on, but we're talking about civilization breakdown, and well, there's a good start. Right. It's called not having a rule of law, and so that inherently foments a mentality in the country that people can just, if they don't like what's happening, they can simply just riot. They can smash windows. They can bust into a store and steal stuff. You know, I mean, that's where we are right now as a civilization.
You're right.
And so that tells me there is a fomenting of race class warfare out there. Instead of bringing everybody together, there's people that actually feed off of this as a need for society to be into groups. And so since they've been attempting to divide everybody, you know, men against women, blacks against whites, gays against straights, anything they can do, rich against poor, transvestites against normal people, you know, anything they can do to create classes, then they can control them and just manipulate people. And so therefore there could be a trigger that would cause us the necessity to have to survive off a grid, because when, say, half the population doesn't show up, say, at the power plant because they're out there protesting, then the power goes out. And let me ask you, Tim, when you first was without electricity, was that a shock to you?
Well, yes and no. Okay. You know, you and I are old enough, Daniel, to remember when electricity wasn't exactly reliable, at least where I grew up in Central Florida and on the east coast of Florida. You know, you can pretty much count on power being off a few hours every time you heard a clap of thunder, at least where I grew up. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that bad. We knew, you know, I'd been through 12 hurricanes. I don't know how many my wife had been when Hurricane Hugo hit. But, you know, this wasn't something we hadn't dealt with before. We had never dealt with it on this scale. Usually after a hurricane in a week, the power's back on. We went months without it, or at least well over a month without it. You know, it was interesting. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it's a matter of not getting scared. It's a matter of not being upset about it. It's just a matter of dealing with problems as they come up. Now, like I said about my wife, Laurie, thinking outside the box. The day before the hurricane hit, she went up to the Ace Hardware store that was about a mile from our house, mm-hmm. bought a gas grill, pretty stainless steel one. We had it for about 15 years till it finally rotted out. But bought a gas grill along with 4 bottles of gas in addition to the one it came with. Well, what we did the morning after the hurricane, of course, everybody knew the power was going to be off for a while. You know, first thing we do is start cooking stuff that's in the refrigerator that needed to be refrigerated. You know, steak, eggs, you name it. If it was in the fridge and it needed to be cooked, we started cooking it because everybody knows cooked food lasts longer than raw food. Mm-hmm. Well, the neighbors started smelling this stuff, you know, and they're getting hungry. Their stomachs are rumbling. They start coming by. Well, what we did was tell them, look, if you got an extra can of gas for your grill, or for, you know, or whatever, mm-hmm. you know, the propane, whatever it is, butane, propane. I said, bring it over. I said, and bring over the food you want cooked, and we'll help you cook it. The only catch is you got to share. Do you know we went for 10 days being so stuffed that we couldn't eat another bite?
Whoa.
The whole family, the 3 kids, Laurie and I, you know, just by sharing. And there was no pressure on anybody. They didn't mm-hmm. have to come over to our house. Mm-hmm. But we probably had, I would say, 5 to 6 families at any given time sitting out on our patio and in the yard beside the place. And,
well, that sounds like it worked out pretty good. All right, but you also said you were without water. Now, word on the street is that
true.
They say you can live without food, but you got to have water. How'd you deal with that one?
Well, we were lucky. About 1/8 of a mile from the house was a natural spring. And what we did, I took turns. There was a Navy commander that lived next door to me. Now, this is civilian housing, not military housing. In military housing, officers and enlisted don't live together. But he and I would take each, in the morning and in the evening, 2 5-gallon buckets. And believe me, I was in a lot better shape than I am now. And it was about somewhere between an 8, I would say, maybe a third of the mile from the house, out in the woods. And we would go out there and fill up these 5-gallon buckets. We had lids for them so they didn't get pine needles and stuff in them and dirt. And we would get this fresh water and bring it back. Now, there was plenty of puddles around and stuff like that and ponds for flushing water, like for the toilet and stuff like that. But, drinking water, and this was before the days of bottled water being, very prevalent. And, of course, there were no grocery stores to go buy the gallon jugs or anything like that.
Right.
The 2 closest grocery stores to us were nothing but piles of concrete block. That's literally what they were. They were not there anymore. And we would go and get these 5-gallon buckets, 20 gallons, and it was enough for our 2 families, and both for cooking and for drinking and stuff like that, even enough for washing dishes. And that's the way we did it. And we did that for well over a month.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, there having a spring is a pretty good thing. I wonder if now where you live now, do you have a manual well pump?
No, we don't. No. Now, right now, for me to put in one of those, and it would include sucker rods because our water is about 200 feet deep, it would cost me about $9,000, and I simply don't have it. Mm-hmm. I've got a family of 7 living here. My daughter, her husband, their 3 kids, my wife and I, and occasionally my son-in-law's daughter from a previous marriage, sort of on and off type thing, on $3,200 a month from the VA. And even though my son-in-law does odd jobs where he can, he doesn't have a steady job, not his fault. He's a working SOB. But, I cannot save up the money to put in the well I want to.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But there is a county well across the road, and that's where we get our water from. Mm-hmm. Now, if everything went to hell, I have the means to filter water out of our ponds. We've got 5 ponds. We have 1 spring-fed pond, but I would still want to run that through one of the filter systems that we actually sell on the website. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, can I plug my website real quick?
I wish you would.
Okay, folks, ruralsurvival.info. Okay, ruralsurvival.info. Okay, we've got a man by the name of Professor James McCanney who is he's the guy that the rocket scientists go to for advice, to put it simply. Mm-hmm. He's developed a water filter system which is cheaper than anybody else and quite literally dozens of times more efficient. Mm-hmm. You want to check them out? There's a link on the right-hand side of every page, has big silver tanks showing, stainless steel tanks. Click on that. It'll tell you everything about them. And yes, in the honesty, to be honest and full disclosure, yeah, my wife and I get a commission off those sales.
Well, I hope you do.
I'm not going to lie to anybody. Yeah, we make something out of it. Mm-hmm. But
okay.
And there's a few other things on the site people might be interested in, about 350 free downloads of PDF files of all kinds of survival stuff, literally hundreds of articles written by people that are, from your common backwoods trapper to PhDs in education, medicine, doctors, medical doctors, all kinds of articles written on there. And I think people could probably spend a week there without getting bored if they have any interest in surviving whatever may come.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what, if I wanted to buy any of that kind of thing, I certainly would want to buy it in a place where it would benefit a disabled veteran such as yourself. All right. So
that's appreciated.
So you were without water and you were without electricity. So that put you down a path to understanding what it's like. When you came back, when the water and the power came back on, did you sort of like, it's kind of like maybe say like an alcoholic, they don't drink and then all of a sudden they just guzzle it up. Did you just turn on every device and and run the water and go crazy that kind of way, or did you look at it like?
Well, to start with, we were told to turn on everything and blow the pipes out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they told us to do.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, did you feel like you wanted to just consume it because you didn't have it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, my biggest thing is we got the water back, and then like 3 or 4 days later, we got the power back. My biggest thing was I wanted a hot shower so bad I couldn't stand it. That's what I wanted. I was so tired of standing in front of a bathroom sink with a tea pitcher full of cold water and washing off the best I could so I didn't stink when I went to work. Mm-hmm. That was my big thing. I wanted a hot shower. Mm-hmm. Laurie wanted the wash machines because she had been washing both her uniforms and mine in the bathtub with whatever kind of soap she could find. She even went as far as one time taking a mason jar and putting a regular bar of soap in it, Ivory soap, letting it sit there for a couple of days, melting it down, mm-hmm. so she could use a few tablespoons at a time to wash our clothes. Mm-hmm. I mean, and the only way to wash them was in the bathtub. But we both wanted clean, non-smelling uniforms to wear to work. Mm. She was a firefighter, an EMT. I was in the Navy.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you something, Tim Spencer. Would you suggest that people, say, turn their power off for a couple of days and see what that's like?
Well, absolutely. If they've never gone through it before, absolutely. And, I'm not going to do it. I've gone through it. But people that have never experienced, a lack of water, a lack of power, especially if they live in the suburbs or the city, mm-hmm. I would recommend doing it just so that you know what your particular needs are. Mm-hmm. We could talk about this subject all day, mm-hmm. but, it's funny. You take people in general, take everything for granted. Flushing the toilet, taking a shower, having fresh food in the refrigerator, being able to jump in your car, use the ATM, and all that. People take all these things for granted. What going for 2 or 3 days without electric and water will teach you is where your deficiencies are and what you need to work on. It's not to make a person miserable. What it does is tell you what you personally, you and your family really need. Mm-hmm. And I personally believe that anybody that has never been through this before, especially if they have children, are doing themselves and their children a great disservice by not trying it at least once or twice.
Mm-hmm. And what about, say, if you're in the wintertime, what about, say, cutting the heat and seeing how you deal with cold?
I would recommend doing that, okay? But do it in such a condition. Don't do it when it's 20 degrees below zero. Do it when it's 20 above. Okay. Is what I would recommend. Mm-hmm. And I have reason for saying that. If your house cools slowly, you don't notice how cold it's getting, and it could actually be too late. Mm-hmm. To do anything about it, even though you've got power. Mm-hmm. You go to sleep at night and it's 40 degrees, and in the morning it's 0 or 10 below, you might not wake up. That's the reason I recommend, if the forecast says it's going to be 20, don't do it. I mean, 20 or below, don't do it. Wait until it's a hair warmer, and you'll learn the same amount of information regardless.
Well, we do certainly advise people to wake up. So,
yeah.
So there you go. Now, so Tim Spencer, do you have farm animals there as well?
Yes, we do. Right now, we don't have as many as I'd like. I got hurt in March, and the work was just too great without me being able to do anything. I shattered my left leg, and that's the reason I told you I had to climb up the stairs on my butt. Right now I'm in a walker and a wheelchair, or sitting on my butt on the floor to move around. One of those three.
Oh, okay.
But no, we backed off of some of the stuff. We had some goats and sheep, which were mainly my responsibility, along with the horses, which are my daughter's and my wife's, but I still help take care of them. But we sold off basically everything but the horses and the chickens and the ducks. But we'll be able to get back into it, and no problem. I'm expected to be back to 85% by February of next year, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to it because this condition I am is so frustrating, Daniel. I look out my window, I see all these things that need to be done, and I can't do them. There's no way.
By the way, for those of you just joining the broadcast, we have with us tonight Tim Spencer of Rural Survival, and tonight's guest is brought to you by Mandy Thompson, finders of great guests from everywhere.
Mandy and I have been friends for about a year. She's a great person.
Yeah. All right. There you go. All right. So we've got a question for you. It says, Tim, how you feed the animals it says, that's not really a good question there. I need to move on from that. So you have animals. So does Laurie know how to butcher the animals?
Yes, she does. And so does my daughter and my oldest grandson. Yes. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the thing people don't realize. I love beef, okay? So does my wife. We prefer deer. Okay? That's the truth. We prefer deer.
Okay.
And after deer, we prefer goats and then beef.
Okay. Oh, goat meat. Never had that. What's that taste like?
Oh, I like deer. Very much like deer.
Okay. That doesn't taste like wild dog?
No.
Because they look like a wild dog.
I've had that too, but no, I don't prefer to do that again.
Whoa. You say you had wild dog?
Yeah, I had it one time.
Oh, was that?
I was out in Oklahoma. I didn't care for it.
Yikes! Oh, so what does the dog taste like? A chicken with scabies?
No, it's a pungent meat. At least what I had. I don't know if it was dog or coyote. I don't know which. Uh-huh. But it was a pungent meat, and I was handed a piece of it, said, here, try this. And I smelled it, and I said, okay, I'll try it. And I told them flat out, it was a Native American group. I said flat out, I don't care for it. They said, nah, neither do we, but it's something to put in our stomachs.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of our Mandy Thompson here, she has a question for you. She says, so you have a personal experience with Planet X intel while in the military. Tim, what
that's what I was telling you. I didn't finish the story.
Okay,
when I was in New Orleans, I saw that map, and originally, like I said, I thought it was the most survivable place, in case of a full-scale nuclear war. In fact, where I live here in Salem, the local airport is, I believe, the last I heard, 6,800 feet long. They can land a big plane, but I'm not sure they can take it off. But I know that was done mostly with federal funds. Draw your own conclusions. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when I got in touch with John Moore, this has been probably 2007, he had just made a DVD. The name of it was Global Warming, What the Government Isn't Telling You. Mm-hmm. And I had heard about Planet X, but I never thought much about it. I heard about it in the 80s. I remember reading, I was either Popular Mechanics or one of those. But I remember reading the article and just filed it in the back of my head, okay, so what? Well, make a long story short, John had got with some Navy intel people and developed a map with, subsiding coastlines and the Mississippi River being 150 miles wide and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of the things he showed on that map and then what these intel guys drew in for him, and I don't think he published that, was pretty much the same map that I had seen in New Orleans, very close to it. Mm-hmm. And that's where the Planet X connection came in, because he is of the opinion, and apparently other people are too, that when Planet X does come by, if it comes by in our lifetime, that, it will slow the rotation of the Earth, which will make that 500-meter bulge that's down around the equator flatten out, because the centrifugal force will be lost to some extent, and that is what's going to cause the flooding. Now, remember, I knew none of this until 2007. I was here because I believed this was the most survivable place in case of a nuclear war. But when John gave me his information and showed me the stuff he showed me, all of a sudden everything started clicking and coming together. And I talked to some of these Navy guys that have been in these briefings, and they all pretty much told me the same thing, that they were told this will happen during your lifetime. Mm-hmm. Now, these briefings apparently started in 78. If these guys were officers in 78, they have to be in their 80s now. Mm-hmm. So that makes me question, what do they consider, quote, your lifetime? You know, some of this doesn't make sense. I'm not looking for Planet X to come screaming by in my lifetime. But if it does, here, you know, the whole point of our website and our radio show is that it doesn't make any difference if you're prepared.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the whole thing. It doesn't make, dates don't make a difference. What happens, you know, if you know in your heart that you're as prepared as you can be, all the dates and prognostications and predictions are irrelevant. If it happens, it happens. And that's the way Laurie and I approach things.
Well, I know when John Moore was on the program, he basically said, if somebody's asking for a date, they're not ready. And
I agree.
They'll
I
never
agree
be
with
ready.
him wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Because obviously the mentality is, give me a date, and then just before that date, 2 days before that date, then I'll go out and I'll get ready. Well, I got to tell you,
right.
that you ain't gonna. I don't think people are going to have that kind of warning. You know, because if they got that warning,
either.
everybody else in the neighborhood. I mean, Walmart's going to be cleared out before you ever get there.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
yeah,
you know.
I mean, let me give you a few examples of the things I do, Daniel.
Okay.
And they're really simple things. They don't cost a lot. And everybody can use these, okay? One, my favorite one.
All right.
We have a garden, okay? Because of all the heavy rain, we haven't put it in yet, but we'll have time to get one good crop of stuff.
All right.
You know, hopefully next week it's going to dry out more, and we'll be able to get seeds in the ground, and we will have time. Okay. Now, what I do, we freeze some of it, but a lot of it I can, and I do the canning because I enjoy it. You know, canning jars can be reused year after year after year. It's good to replace the lids, but they are so cheap that you could buy 10 years worth of lids for less than $100, you know, and you're set. You don't have to have gas or electric to can. If you know what you're doing, you can do it over a fire. It's, you know, you really can. All you got to do is watch that pressure gauge. And we take our vegetables and meat, by the way, also. Like if we kill a deer, what we don't want to put in the freezer, we can. You know, it's completely safe if you know what you're doing. And so I do a lot of canning. The other thing is, when you go to the grocery store, Walmart, wherever you shop, you find stuff on sale like beans for 50 cents a can or whatever. What I'll do is I'll take a couple extra bucks and I'll buy an entire case. We've got these big shelves in our kitchen, and they're floor to ceiling, probably 10 feet wide, 3 feet deep.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, let me
These are solid.
Let me ask something right here.
Go ahead,
Tim. The typical can of beans on the shelf. What is the life expectancy?
Well, here's the thing. Now, I'm happy to address this. If you keep them fairly cool and dry is the main thing, even more than cool. You don't want to put them in direct sun, though. Okay? They will last well past their expiration date. To give you an example, I was in the Navy. My first submarine, I was what they called a mess crank. In other words, my first duty to learn the submarine was I worked in the kitchen. And they have what they call a drop-in on an SSBN, which is below berthing. And what they do is literally drop in canned goods. Well, towards the end of the patrol, we were down there getting the list that the cook wanted to cook for the meal. And I happened to find this dark green, olive green can.
Okay.
It said bacon. And I grabbed it, took it up to the kitchen, showed the cook, and we got to looking at it. The date on it was canned 1942. This is 1981.
Wow.
We opened that can of bacon, and it was just as fresh as the day it was made. But it had been in a cool, dry environment. So maybe that will help people understand why I stock up on canned goods, soup, stuff like that, when it's cheap. Because if you maintain the environment, the cans will last forever, just about. Now,
there could be a major problem there, Tim. I mean, if so let's just say that the apocalypse is coming and food stores are stopping it, and you start breaking it. You know, you got say like a dozen people in the house, and you know you're breaking out the beans. Somebody lights a match, it's over.
Well, yeah, that is a problem. Yeah. That is an absolute problem. I mean, that methane will get you every time, buddy.
Just that's from the cowboy right there. I'll tell you what, Tim, we're at the top of the hour where we take a 5-minute break here. Tell us how to get to that website again and what people can find on there.
Okay, it's ruralsurvival.info. RURALSURVIVAL.info, INFO. Mm-hmm. And people can find literally hundreds of free articles. They can find a flash drive that we sell that has 6.2 gigabytes of survival information on it. Mm-hmm. They can find the water filters that we market. Mm-hmm. And, and there's well over 350 free downloads of everything from what to do when there's no dentist to how to build a fallout shelter in a hurry to canning to how to build a fence. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's tons and tons of information on there, mm-hmm. and it's all free.
Okay.
So I invite people to take a look.
All right. And I have your website address in my background. Tim, stay on the line. We're going to turn you down. We'll be back with you in about 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll be there.
All right. All right, everybody. You're watching and or listening to the Edge Television broadcast tonight. We have with us Tim Spencer of ruralsurvival.info. Be sure to stop by his website and certainly look at whatever products he has there and help a disabled veteran while you are being prepared. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll be right back. And welcome back.
Thank you, sir. I'm really enjoying this, by the way.
Well, good. Well, I'm going to tell you what.
It's a format that I'm used to, but I love it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Well, we try to do things a little bit different here. By the way, just as we were logging off to go to our 5-minute break, Mandy Thompson wrote in that she is preparing a zombie. She's going to turn her house into a zombie party palace that she's going to invite us all over to when that happens. So, I mean, when you're talking about sort of end of the world cataclysmic doom-gasms, Tim, I mean, can we X out zombies, or is there a chance that they coming out of here when they get hit with some nuclear radiation, that you see a bunch of people running around with 3 eyeballs and a couple heads and stuff?
Well, that might happen 25 years down the road. If there was ever a zombie type thing, I would attribute it most likely to a virus, radiation. Mm-hmm. I'm a living example of what massive ionizing radiation can do. It almost killed me. Oh. That's the reason I have 100% disability from the VA. And so far, I have not grown any extra body parts, but I have lost some, like my teeth, my pancreas, and stuff like that.
I'm sorry to hear that. We'll keep you in our prayers, too, as well. Hey, you know what? Miracles, as long as you're alive, there can be miracles, Tim, so I'm holding out for you, brother.
Oh, I absolutely agree. If we've got a second, Daniel, can I address something that I feel is one of the most important things in survival?
You go right ahead.
Okay, folks. Situational awareness or situation awareness, both are proper terms. What this means is being aware of your environment. You know, I know many people are very busy with their lives, very busy with their jobs, their families, the kids' soccer games, and all that. Mm-hmm. But you can teach yourself to be vigilant, not hyper-vigilant, but vigilant. Mm-hmm. And this can absolutely save your life. And that means when you pull into Kroger's or whatever your grocery store is, take 3 seconds to do a 360 around your vehicle. You know, we have gut feelings. If you see somebody that you think is a potential bad guy, what does it cost you to drive to the other side of the parking lot instead? You know, it's that simple. Also be aware of what's going on in your communities. I look at Ferguson, a situation I was very close to a couple of years ago. Knew a lot of people involved in security in that deal. But there were indications from day one that this was coming. And these professionals that I know knew it was coming. However, the general public and the press were totally caught off guard. By just thinking about what's going on, mm-hmm. those men came out unscathed. Mm. Their assets came out unscathed. Mm-hmm. That is also part of situational awareness. Mm-hmm. The final part is being aware of what's going on in the world. One of my favorite sayings is, you know, if I'm walking around the house during the day, walk outside, come in to get a drink of water or beer or whatever, I'll flip on the TV to CNN. If there's commercials on, nothing's happening, folks. You know, I don't like CNN, but they are good at event coverage. Mm-hmm. I hate CNN with a passion. Mm-hmm. But to make a long story short, pay attention to the news. Pay attention to what's happening. Like this thing with North Korea. In my mind, the odds are it'll all calm down in a few months and things will go back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
Where I see the real problem is the Ukraine and Syria in that order. But if people are aware that things like that could happen, then what's the term, Daniel? Forewarned is forearmed, I think is the term. Mm. And if you have an idea what's going on and things that can affect you, you can better prepare for it. Mm-hmm. And I'll get off my soapbox and let you ask questions, buddy.
Well, when you were saying that, I remembered a movie called Spy Game with Robert Redford and Brad Pitt. And Robert Redford was the professional spy, and he was teaching Brad Pitt. And talk about situational awareness. They were sitting at a table in a restaurant, and Robert Redford was describing to Brad Pitt sitting across to him. Robert Redford was describing what was going on behind him. And so Brad Pitt was like, how does he know that? Well, if he looked, they kind of zoomed in to show Robert Redford. He had a spoon in his hand on the table, and it was standing up, and he was looking down at his hand, and he was scanning the room with a reflection on the back of that spoon. So that's an example of situational awareness. And I think
perfect example.
Because in this day and age, particularly as a certain category of people are coming to the United States from, say, bad places in the Middle East, a situational awareness may save your life.
Absolutely.
If somebody on a hot day has it's 100 degrees out there and they're wearing an overcoat or a backpack, you might want to go to another restaurant or another store. So
absolutely.
Just saying.
Yeah, it's things like that. If at night you're sitting in a parking lot and you see somebody coming towards you in a car with no lights on, even something that simple, it's time for your ears and your eyes to perk up and say, "Hey, what's going on here?" Mm-hmm. There's something that could be completely innocent. 99% of the time, it will be, but you're aware. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about. It doesn't say take action, it says be aware so you can take action.
Mm-hmm. All right, here's a question for you. Did you go to the sub-school in Groton?
Groton, Connecticut. Yes, I did in 1980.
1980, wow. All right. And here's a question from our moderator, Jade. It says, Tim, if society collapses, how will you defend yourself?
Where I'm at, the odds are I won't have to. Mm-hmm. If I was in the suburbs, my best defense would be to get out of the danger area. Mm-hmm. If you're not there, they can't get you.
How far from St. Louis are you?
About 135 miles.
Okay. Obviously, that's a place where, as most metropolitan areas would be, that there would be sort of anarchy and chaos there for an unknown period of time. But at some point, they're going to start fanning out the survivors of the chaos in whether St. Louis or any really major metropolitan area.
Right.
So will they reach the hordes? I mean, for instance, the movie The War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise showed an example of everybody got in their cars and they hit the highway. Of course, the EMP pulse, or they when EMP pulse, I think it was the aliens, but it could have been an EMP. Right. It could have been an EMP pulse that would knock out every electronic. So the highways were jammed, but eventually people got out of their cars and then they just started walking down the highway. How soon after a sort of a collapse would they reach you from 100, or could they even make it 135 miles?
Well, I think they could make it 135 miles, but here's the thing. The nearest interstate to us is 32 miles. The closest interstate exit is 32 miles from us.
Okay.
All right. They would have to come down a highway that's a 2-lane highway. Mm-hmm. Then, not only that, let's say they got into the little town of Salem.
All right.
They're going to have to go down multiple 1-lane roads and gravel roads to find my place. Mm-hmm. My place sits 1,500 feet off the road. They cannot not even see it from the road. There's a driveway they could see. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. However, what they don't know is we've got, I don't want to go too much, we have emplacements to defend the house that are very simple and they cannot be spotted. Mm-hmm. But they're very secure. Now, here's something else people don't know. On a farm like this, especially with a family this size, we are capable of having somebody awake at all times of the day or night. And plus, we have dogs, which are the greatest alarm system, better than any electric alarm system.
Plus, you have a ready supply of food if things get really bad. I mean, the dogs.
Well, yeah, and horses. Now, being of the Native American persuasion, horses are not off limits on the menu.
That remind me. Guess I've been watching too many movies. There was a Clint Eastwood movie, and I don't know if it was High Plains Drifter or something, but these killers were in this prison, and they were going to go. I think it was called High Plains Drifter. They were going to go out of the prison and they were going to go attack this little town. Well, when they're in prison, they let them out because their time had expired. And they told the jailers, they said, well, where's our horse? And he said, what do you think you've been eating for the last month? He goes, you made me eat my horse? And that's wrong. Yeah. Okay. From a cowboy standpoint, you don't eat your horse. But I'm just wondering, if somebody fries him up just right or something, maybe we could do that. All right, let's get a, oh, by the way, Sneaker out of the live chat says he wants to thank you as well for your service.
Well, it was my honor and my privilege, Ryder. It was greatly, I would do it all over again.
All right, Pick and Steal out of the live chat has this question for you. MSN, known for fake news, fake news has always been around. Somehow it come out that, now that term is now mainstream. And in fact, people need to be aware that if they weren't aware before that there's fake news, it's out there. So the question from the writer is, how can you tell whether you're getting fake news or actual news?
Well, that's a good question. And like I said before, if I don't have an answer, I'll say I don't. What I do, if something seems incredible, does not seem well sourced, I will try to verify it on the internet. What you'll find a lot of times is a news story will, you can follow links back 12 or 15 levels, and you get to the original source, and it says something completely different than what the first source you looked at says. Mainstream media has a really good method for taking 2 plus 2 and make it equal 5, 6, or 7, depending on their mood. I've got to admit, there's one news network I like. It's called One America News. They read the facts without commentary, without, embellishment. I've never caught them in fake news, but every other channel, including Fox News, I have caught them with, using fake news.
Yeah.
I don't know if the people reading the news or reading the teleprompter know it is or not.
Yeah.
But, morally, people will hold those people they see on the TV screen responsible in the end, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know that Shepard Smith of Fox News just recently was quoted saying, I love doing the news, and every day I get to go home with the man I love. Ooh! Okay.
Yeah, that kind of gave me a queasy feeling, too. I heard that. It really surprised me when he came out as gay.
Yeah.
I really felt like the women would
should
probably be hanging all over that Mississippi boy.
Maybe he should be staying home with the man he loves. You know what I'm saying? All right.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Here's a question from Manny Thompson again. It says, in your opinion, what events do you see, say, like a year out or 10 years out? What are you seeing down the road there?
A year to 2 years out, and I know Mandy said 1. A year to 2 years out, actually 9 months to 2 years out,
right.
I see severe economic turmoil. I'm not saying an absolute collapse, but I would say worse than the Great Depression was. I see that. 10 years out or less, my guess is we're going to have World War. I don't know what that will mean for the United States. However, various prophecies I've read, and including the Holy Bible, which I take as much more than a prophecy, if I understand who Babylon is, the United States is not going to do well.
Well, aside from Mandy's zombies attacking, whatever happened to the prophecies going out there that the Chinese were amassing on the southern border and the Russians were coming at us from the west? Were those just doomgasm type statements? I mean, how can we separate?
No, not from what I've read. Okay,
what do you got?
And Judicial Watch. one of the organizations I hold in the highest esteem, said that both. Now, I hope I'm not remembering something wrong, but remember here just recently they said there was a Middle Eastern group, terrorist group, just south of the border, just south of El Paso. Now, if I remember correctly, a couple of years before that, they said something about Chinese troops. Now, that might not have come from Judicial Watch. My memory is not perfect anymore. But, you know, there's been numerous reports of Chinese troops being south of the border. Now, we also know for a fact, and I've got pictures to back it up, buddy, that Russian Spetsnaz has been training in the United States. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this I literally have pictures to back up from Fort Carson. You know, and also we know that there are Russian troops in Alaska, but not in uniform.
Mm. Really? What are they doing?
Living, basically just living there. How do we know they're Russian troops? They speak fluent Russian and they're not afraid to in front of other people. They're all mostly males between in their 20s to 30s, all big, strong-looking guys, you know, short haircuts, very courteous, seem to be very intelligent.
Nice. Okay, so they'll be real nice before they kill us.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, I never had no use for no Russians. Don't like them.
Well, I've met a few in my life, okay? Mm-hmm. As a people, as a society, mm-hmm. I have no problem with them. Mm-hmm. As a government, now remember, the only ones I knew were during the Soviet Union, and every time I talked to one of them, I had to fill out a contact report. Mm-hmm. Their government is what I had a problem with back then. Mm-hmm. I don't know about now. The people, individuals, I always got along with great. And, mm-hmm. You know, I know that's probably not what your listeners want to hear, but that's the truth.
What about Chinese?
I don't have much use for them. But again, on an individual basis, they're not bad. Mm-hmm. Collectively, I'll try to get the hell out of Dodge, or get out of Dodge real quick.
Which one is more likely to take us over and torture us, rather than kill us? Would it be the Russians or the Chinese?
Chinese.
Okay,
absolutely the Chinese,
because they get some kind of sadistic pleasure out of torture. I mean, that's where Chinese torture. That's where that came from. You never heard of Russian torture, but
right.
Chinese.
Well, here's the thing: the Chinese, as a whole, not individuals, as a whole, are the most racist society you will ever meet, mm-hmm. followed by Japan.
Well, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. But yeah, man, the Chinese, man, they stick you with needles. They perform put hexes on you and curses on you. I don't like them. They all look alike for one thing. Ching Chang Pao and Ming Bao Bing Ding Dong or whatever the name is. But
well, they say we all look alike too. Just so you know.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I thought I was an original. I guess there's a whole lot of people looking like Daniel Ives. I don't know. All right.
Well, yeah, but basically a white person is a white person.
Okay.
And I'll tell you something else, Daniel. If you have tattoos and the mm-hmm. Chinese come, mm-hmm. you better hide.
Oh boy, they don't like them?
No, they consider anybody that has a tattoo to be an evil person. Only criminals in China have tattoos.
Really? Man. Yeah. Oh, I don't like them, man. All I know is the Chinese keep hacking our computers. Chinese don't invent anything. They just steal secrets from the United States. And then they copy all our stuff.
Or they get Bill Clinton to give them to them for free.
Well, that's true too. Yeah, I'll never forget when the Chinese gave Bill Clinton $18 million. I remember when he gave him the missile technology because their damn missiles, if they ever got off the launch pad, they couldn't get within 25 miles. And he got the space company to give them the tech for that. And then all of a sudden, they just donated $18 million to Bill Clinton's campaign. I'll never forget that. He sold us out.
Well, yeah, you're right. That's exactly what happened. We also gave them, the technology for multiple independent reentry vehicles. Mm-hmm. They didn't have that before Bill mm-hmm. Clinton.
Mm-hmm. Now, not just saying Democrats are evil, but I'm hard pressed to hear a story of a Republican selling out the country like that.
Well, I'm not going to say they, because I don't know that.
But now I would say
I've never heard of it either, Daniel.
But I would say that I have no use for George Bush because when so-called the 9/11 hijackers came to crash the World Trade Centers, we went after Afghanistan. We didn't go after Saudi Arabia because 17 of the 18 were Saudis. So he went and bombed Afghanistan. So and then the weapons of mass destruction. So right there, while that's not selling us out, that got a lot of our guys killed. Okay, so that's even worse. Yeah. I mean, at least the Chinese haven't launched a missile at us using our own technology, where I can say George Bush has a lot of dead soldiers at his feet for causing a war that was the wrong country to begin with.
Yeah, my son did 19 months in Afghanistan, got blown up twice.
So
he didn't get really, really hurt, but he was on one vehicle that hit an IED, and he was real close, like within 150 feet of another IED that went off that knocked him on his ass. Mm-hmm. But, George Bush did that for us. Yeah. And 4 months of the time he was there, he was training ANA troops. Another 4 months of the time he was there, he was guarding poppy fields. Mm-hmm. And the rest of the time, he was assigned to a CIA detachment going out and killing certain people.
Right. And his granddaddy gave the Nazis the playbook for genocide. So... Hey,
absolutely.
So I'm pretty informed on that. So I have no use for the Bushes. Besides that, I think George W. Bush is that which one is that? Who's his daddy? Is it
H.W. Bush's daddy? Okay. W. Bush's son.
Okay, so W. Bush. Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking of. Anyway, I really wasn't liking the way he's looking at his mom. Okay, I know Mother's Day's coming up, but the way he looked at her, something wrong there.
I know.
Okay.
I saw that.
Okay, I think he's getting a like her too much. All right, moving on. Question for you: should people get off of the grid ASAP, or should they just kind of think about it?
Well, no. Okay, all right. I'll tell you what we do. I live by example, or at least I try to. Right now, we are hooked up to the grid. What I do have is a generator, and I'll be honest, I have enough fuel to run it to keep the freezers going until I think we'll have everything eaten or cooked or otherwise preserved, canned.
Okay.
We can live without electricity, and we can do so comfortably. I'm not saying it's any fun, but we can do it comfortably.
Okay.
So I'm not too worried about having electricity. My biggest concern is water, and I think we've got those bases covered. Thanks to filtration systems and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as getting off the grid now or doing it later, there's a lot to be said for both, but I would say having the means to get off the grid, if you want your air conditioner, if you want your computer, even though you won't be able to talk to anybody on it except people in your own house, if you want the ability to do that, then by all means, set up, be it, you're going to need something like nickel iron batteries because the Walmart deep cell batteries don't last but a few years. You're going to need solar panels, and all that stuff costs money. Mm-hmm. When everything breaks, you're not going to be able to get it. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. But we have opted to the fact to just go without electricity because we've done it so many times for so long before that it doesn't bother us. Mm-hmm. Now, we do have 55-gallon drums full of lamp oil, or actually number one kerosene.
Right.
So we'll have light. Mm-hmm. And, that's something else for people to think about. I'm going off subject just a tiny bit, Daniel, but something for people to think about. If there's a situation and you have light and everybody doesn't, the first time you turn on a lamp in your living room at night without blackout curtains, you're going to have the neighbors beating down the door.
Yep.
They might not be violent, but they're going to be beating down the door.
Mm-hmm.
That's something to think about.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Or if they hear your generator running, I mean, that
exactly.
that is a signal for sure.
It is. And I don't know if you've ever been in a real big blackout or not, but the deadly silence in the middle of the night, deathly silence in the middle of the night is just incredible. If a squirrel farts half mile away, you're going to hear it because, air conditioners aren't running, very little, if any, vehicle traffic. Fans aren't running. All the things that electricity makes, noises electricity makes. The transformers aren't humming. And most people don't even realize that a lot of transformers do hum. but they do.
So Tim, when do you think Hillary is going to hit the fan?
I'm hoping within the next 60 days. I'm really hoping that they start going after her. Because if they don't, it's my feeling that the American people are going to lose faith both in Trump and in Attorney General Sessions. If that happens, I think that will be very bad, because it will be a lack of support for our side and an I told you so for the left. That's my biggest fear.
All right. So how much food storage should a person have?
It depends. Okay. All right, I'll tell you this. We have 6 to 9 months for everybody in the family at our house. Okay. But we'll never touch it unless for some reason we have like a bad growing season or something like that. And of course we have tons of natural foods here. Everything from dandelions to scallop mushrooms to abundant fish and game. We're not going to starve. But for somebody that lives in, let's say, New Mexico, 40 miles out in the desert, you better have enough to last for as long as you're going to be there. So everybody is different.
All right. Let's get to another question here. Is there a protective do you have something to protect? Everybody's heard of a Faraday cage. Do you have something that's large enough to cover your car, or just smaller items?
Well, we personally have stuff, just small items. I'm not worried about cars, and I'll tell you why. If there's an EMP, after you use the gas that you already have, plus whatever you have stored, and by the way, if you store it, you need a preservative like PRIG or PRID, something like that. Once you go through that, you're not going to get any more gas anyway. We've got horses, we've got a wagon, we've got trailers that the horses can pull.
Sound like you guys are Amish over there, doing a little Amish
Well,
thing.
no,
but the Amish,
not really.
The Amish are going to survive. They're not going to have any trouble.
No, and we've learned a lot from them actually. You know, we do things a little bit different. We do use soap and deodorant. You know, anyway, inside joke from around here, disregard. But, you know, we do things a little bit different. Yeah. Yeah, we've actually picked up a few things from the Amish, especially, that's one of the places I learned some of the tricks about canning. And if you talk to Amish people, if you have a question, they'll normally answer you. In fact, our furrier, the guy that does our horses' shoes and all, is Amish. Hell of a good guy. And he taught me something I didn't know, and that's how to tell the age of a mule by its teeth. You know, that's something I didn't know, but he was more than happy to teach me. I asked, he taught, and I was quite delighted.
Wow! I'll tell you what, who knew?
Right.
So, hey, but here's a kind of a question that's going to come up in a grid down situation, but maybe not. But Tim Spitzer, what do you do for entertainment? I know that you know you're obviously disabled. Is there anything that you can do to have a little bit of entertainment, or?
Well, all right. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care for TVs or movies. I love to read books.
Okay.
But Laurie, my wife Laurie, for the grandkids that live with us, what she has done is bought board games. She's probably got 24.
Okay.
Different kinds of board games.
Okay.
They're all in one big cardboard box up in the attic where the kids can't get to them to mess them up now.
All right.
We've also, I think she said we have 24 decks of cards.
Okay.
She's got probably, I know, I lifted them up in the attic for after Christmas. I would say 25, 30 pounds of coloring books. And, of course, we don't put the crayons up in the attic because they'd melt. But she's got a whole, probably a shoebox full of boxes of crayons. You know, that's what we've looked at for the kids. For ourselves, you know, Laurie and I are perfectly entertained by sitting out on the porch watching the birds.
Oh,
you know, watching the deer and turkey walk by. That's enough entertainment for us.
Okay. Well, Tim Spencer, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked John Moore, and the same question I asked Jeff Harness. Grid down situation, chaos ensued. Stores ransacked, no food out there. Somebody's coming to your door, few people coming up the driveway looking for food, not like say killers, but looking for food. What do you do?
Well, every situation is different. Okay. All right, let's see. Let me qualify this. All right. I'm not a Christian, but I hold great Christian values in my mind. I will not immediately attack. I will attempt to talk to them. I won't let anybody else in my family do it because I value them. But I will take the risk rather than shooting them on sight to find out what they're up to, what they want. Now, that doesn't mean I won't be covered from 4 different directions. I will be. Mm-hmm. But I will give them the opportunity to speak their piece, and I will make the decision to either say, leave, stay, let's trade, barter. I will make that decision at the time. Mm-hmm. The worst that can happen is they kill me, and I'm the least capable person in the house. That's the reason I've decided that would be my responsibility.
All right, and I suppose they come up there and they have a gun, and they're demanding food or else.
They will be shot before they get within 100 feet of the house, sir. Mm-hmm.
So shoot first, and well, I mean, hey, if they're flashing weapons, I mean, it's on automatically.
Absolutely. I won't even have to say anything. Mm-hmm. The most dangerous 2 people in this house are my wife and daughter.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
they are deadly shots, better shot than I ever dreamed of being. Mm-hmm. My daughter killed a coyote. It was right before Christmas. Mm-hmm. Coyote was running through the yard. I mean, at a dead run. She opens the window right here beside my desk. There's one window with no screen in it. Mm-hmm. Pops 22 Magnum out the window. She didn't have it out there half a second before she killed that coyote with 1 shot.
Okay.
She is deadly.
All right. Scenario 2, armed people come up there, demand food, demand in because they know you got it because they can maybe smell the bacon cooking or maybe the dog meat on the grill. They open fire, you shoot them. But they also have 2 kids, and so you're a marksman there. You take them out. Now you got 2 children. What are you going to do with them?
It depends on the age of the children. It depends on the children's action.
Okay, the children are 3 and 4, boy and a girl, and they don't got any shoes on. And
we are human. Okay. Odds are, once we determined there was no further threat, we would do what we could for the children.
Do you have...
I mean, that's us. We do anything for kids. Mm-hmm. Regardless of color, race, creed, we do anything for kids. We always have. And if that gets us killed, so be it.
Mm-hmm. Obviously your food supply could run out a little bit earlier.
It could. That might mean that we have to work a little bit harder, Daniel, to get more.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you say you have Christian values, but you're not a Christian. I never heard those 2 things kind of put into a sentence. What do you consider?
All right. I'll tell you the truth. I mean, I'm not ashamed of this.
Okay.
I am a half-breed. I'm half Native American, half white.
Okay.
I was brought up under both cultures simultaneously.
Okay.
Okay. My father took me to a Seventh-day Adventist church. My mother took me to a Presbyterian church, and under my grandmother, I learned many, many Native American values, many of which, in my opinion, are superior to the whites, but I'm not going to start a fight here. I do not resist Christianity. I do not necessarily disbelieve it. In fact, I think it's a very good belief system. I just have personal problems understanding and going along with some of the things in the Bible. Mm-hmm. Okay? I'm not mad at anybody. I don't hold anything against it. But for my temperament, especially the Old Testament, I have problems with some of the things that the Christian God ordered, like the complete annihilation of populations and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It just does not set well with me. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying with me personally, it doesn't set well. I do not deny Jesus Christ. I do not deny God the Father or the Holy Spirit. What I have a problem with is some of the actions attributed to those beings, not necessarily Jesus Christ or the Holy Spirit, but to God the Father. I have a problem with, what is the word I'm looking for? The total annihilation of, various heathen villages. Now, there might be things I don't understand. Their DNA might have been corrupted. Then I can understand it. But obviously, I have not studied the Bible well enough yet to be completely convinced By the same token, though, I will go along and disavow some of the Native American beliefs, but things like charity, honesty, truth, I will not disavow. So maybe I'm just torn.
Okay. Well, you mentioned Christian values, and I would suppose I guess right off the top, I would think Christian values is charity, compassion, love, those kinds of things,
right?
Empathy.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So what's Cherokee values?
Well, basically just what you said, and actually it's Cherokee, Creek, and a little Seminole, to be honest with you. Now, a lot of people look at Native Americans and say hard and harsh. That's what they see. But in reality, hard and harsh is required in life on some things. When the harsher your existence, the harsher the person becomes.
So are you saying that Cherokee values mirror Christian values?
Absolutely.
Okay. And really, I mean, wasn't it the Indians anyway that sort of came up with one of the? I mean, when they came over and when the white crackers came over and started killing. By the way, I have no use for white people, but when they came over and started killing the Indians, they duly noted that they were very spiritual and believed that there was an omniscient being, a spirit.
Oh yes,
they called it the Great Spirit. So how did they know that there was a Great Spirit? What in nature told them that?
Well, I think what it was, now I don't know this for a fact, okay? Yes, I've got a lot of Native American religious training. Not all of it I agree with. I was even an ordained Chickamaugan medicine man for a while. But I left that because there was so much I didn't agree with. Right. But the bottom line is, I think it was the simple logic of the beauty of this planet could not be by happenstance or chance.
Okay.
There had to be a divine creator. And like I said, I don't know that for a fact. I'm making an assumption based on my contact with Native American values as a very young child. In other words, from diapers till 7 or 8 years old. It was never really discussed who came up with the idea of a creator. It was just accepted.
What do you think this great creator wants from his creation?
Well, in our belief system, how do I put this? In portions of our belief system, in Native America, it's just like every other religion. You got the Baptists that think one thing, the Roman Catholics that think another, the Jews that think another.
The Catholics always think about little boys, but go ahead.
Okay. But what I grew up in was there is no reward, like a heaven or a hell.
All right.
But the goal is to be as good a person as you can be in this life.
All right.
For the simple joy of being as good a person as you can be in this life.
Well, now let's just say that might be our own internal mechanism that we want to be a good person. But what does the Great Spirit want from his creation?
I don't, that's another question I never asked. I never asked that. There was never any servitude that I remember to the Great Spirit or to the Creator, as we called him. There was never any servitude, just respect. And I mean ultimate respect. And thankfulness.
Okay, well, that is being thankful is probably the first step toward a good life, because people that are thankful are much more compassionate towards others. They realize what they have, and so I think that is a good step forward. I think God Himself gives us a thankful heart. So if we have a thankful heart, I think it's put there externally. All right, here's a question from just kind of because you're kind of are you out in the woods there anywhere? You got woods around you?
Yeah, yes, I am. I'm right in the middle of the woods.
Are you anywhere near a national forest?
Yes, 11 miles.
And what forest is that?
Mark Twain National.
Oh, okay. You're over there by Jeff Harness. So are you near John Moore?
I'm 40 minutes from him.
Does he have a sort of a compound of people, or does he live by himself, isolated?
Well, no, it's just him and his wife.
Okay. All right. So you got trees over there. So the question came in, can trees feel?
I personally believe they can. That's my personal opinion.
But you
my
have murdered. You
and
have
the way I
murdered
was
them.
brought up is every living thing has a spirit, everything,
Okay.
and therefore feelings.
But you have murdered trees, right?
Go ahead.
And you have murdered trees and burnt them to death, right?
Yes, I have.
And would you like to apologize right now? The mic's yours.
I apologized every time I did it, sir.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right. Now, just getting aside, I mean, that's kind of going back to the Indians. The Indians, how when they would kill an animal, they would thank the animal, would they not?
Yes, absolutely. And every tree I've ever cut down, I've actually said a prayer out loud, not silently.
Really?
And yes, that's not a lie. It's the truth.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would have you know that I planted a forest of trees, so I got to, I mean, if you plant them, you love them. I mean, they're kind of like family. Yeah. They're kind of like family,
I agree. We just planted year before last, 200 sugar maple.
Really?
And yes, I go, I do the best I can, even on a walker or when the ground's drying up my wheelchair, to go out and check on them every day. It's not pouring down rain or, 15 below zero.
Is that because, are you going to try to get maple syrup out of them?
Actually, that's what my wife wants to do. I know I won't live long enough, but that's what she wants.
Aww.
And in 15 years, she may well be able to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you one thing. You talk about thankfulness. I can tell that you're very thankful for your wife.
Oh, I am. I don't attribute it to luck or even fate. I just believe the Creator brought us together, and we've got 3 beautiful children that are all very intelligent, and one of them too intelligent for his own good. Mm-hmm. We've got 8 beautiful grandchildren that I would die for in an instant. We've got a almost 50-acre farm, a house that's paid for, 2 cars that are paid for. Yes, I'm a very thankful man.
I tell you what, I learned a survival tip the other day. If you take a cotton swab and dip it in Vaseline, it'll burn for a half an hour.
I've heard that too. I've never tried it. I ought to try that. That's neat. I heard it, but I never tried it. I'm going to try it.
Okay. All right. So you have now we're talking about survival goods. Do you incorporate a sort of a rotation where you have goods that you say you eat them and then you replace them, kind of rotating them all the time?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Everything we get new, even if it takes us a half hour to do it, goes to the back of the shelf it goes on. And believe me, sometimes it takes us a half an hour when we get a new case of vegetables in to move everything off, put it in the back, and then put everything else back.
Do you have a freeze dryer?
Yes, but we've never used it. Laurie just got it here a month or so ago, and we haven't used it yet.
Do you have one of those machines that seals food?
No, I don't, but I want one desperately.
Oh.
And if we ever get ahead on money, I'm going to get one.
Well, let's just say when. Not if, but when. How about that?
Yeah.
I'm an optimist,
Well,
man.
sometimes I wonder. I truly do. This broken leg thing with weekly trips to the hospital, which is a 5-hour round trip, I'm not whining about money, but damn, this has cost us a lot.
Wow. Hey, so you've never, prayed to Jesus for a miracle healing of any kind?
No. I would, if such a thing exists, I would prefer that people much more needy than I receive that healing. I will make it. I'm not being proud when I say that. Mm-hmm. But here, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
The VA said they were going to put in a wheelchair ramp for me. Mm-hmm. They were out here a month ago, did all the measurements and all that. The VA itself approved it. But because my front porch is 6 feet off the ground, it's going to have to be an extra long thing. It's what they call a 12-1. For every 1 inch of drop, they've got to go 12 inches long on the ramp.
All right.
Well, of course, with a 6-foot thing, that's going to be a 72-foot long ramp, I think it was. I think that's what they said, with 2 rest areas in it. They're required to do that. Now, apparently there's a thing the VA has where immediately returning combat vets get priority.
All right.
Well, I found that out when I called up there to find out, hey, you guys said 3 weeks. It's been a month. When are you planning on doing it? And I wasn't mean about it. And they explained the situation to me. And guess what? I'm 100% fine with that. If my son came back from Afghanistan with no legs, yes, I want him to have it first. And all these young kids coming back blown up are, to me, just like my son. You know, they've got, you know, this guy or girl has parents. Those parents would want that child taken care of just like I'd want my child taken care of. So guess what, Daniel? I'm 100% fine with their policy. And, you know, that's just the way I look at things.
All right. So, Tim Spencer, so back to your website now. You say you have survival stuff and survival tips. Tell us more about the videos you have on there. What's going on there?
Well, there might be a few videos. Well, the one video I have that's up there every week, I haven't done it yet today, but the one video at the top of the page every week is Laurie's and my radio show that we do on Republic Broadcasting Network from 10 a.m. till noon Central every Saturday. Okay, so that's
is there a link? I'm looking at your website there. Is it where's the link at to that?
Is there not a video showing up there, buddy?
There is. Yeah, there's YouTube channel. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, and I see it's RBN right there. So basically, that is you and Laurie do that every day or once a week or what's your?
No, Saturday? Every Saturday morning only.
Okay.
From 10 a.m. till noon every Saturday morning. We talk about a lot of rural stuff. We talk about a lot of survival stuff. We'll go into politics, religion, you name it. I mean, no subject's really off limits. Every other week is what we call caller's choice, where we don't have a guest. And we just take callers, whatever they want to talk about. We do our best to accommodate them. What we'll do, if we absolutely don't know the answer to something, I have a notepad here I write it down on, and before the next caller's choice, I try to find the answer to. And it's really a simple format. It's a down-home format. You know, we don't stand on ceremony at all. And most of these callers we've got to know on a first-name basis. Some of them we've actually become personal friends with.
All right. So what is a couple things that everybody should do in the next week?
In the next week. Inventory what you've got. Okay. Make a list of what you don't. All right. And figure out a way to get a hold of what you don't. I would say those would be the three main priorities. Now, the secondary priority, but it's still a priority, is if there's something you feel you need to learn how to do, learn it. There are no excuses, especially while we have the internet up. There are also most people that are proficient in a subject, be it a master gardener, a butcher, whatever the profession is, a veterinarian. Most of them, if you go ask them a question, will give you an answer, at least in a rural environment. I don't know in the city. I've never tried it in the past 30 years.
Hey, Tim Spencer, I got a question. A dad-burned red fox jumped over my fence in the chicken coop and killed 5 of my chickens. It was a massacre out there. What's the best way I can stop this fox?
Put a chicken wire top on top of your pen.
Okay. How about razor wire? I thought about
that works too.
See, I thought about putting a conibear trap out there, and I thought, okay, I'm going to use conibear trap, but then I'll have me a fox, and like I wear him for a hat. But then I thought, hey, I'm probably going to have to gut him. Now, Ben.
No, not if you want the skin.
Oh, you don't have to gut him? What do you?
No.
How to get the skin off the boy?
Well, you make a slit along each foot on the inside.
Okay.
And then you follow that slit up to the chest.
Okay.
This is the way we do it. There's other ways of doing it.
Okay.
And then I make a slit from the sternum all the way down to its nether region, and basically pull the fox out of it. Now, you also cut around the bottom jaw.
Okay.
And because, it's just too hard to get the fur off the head by not cutting around the bottom jaw. Basically, you leave the white fur on the bottom jaw there and don't worry about it. When you get all the skin off the fox, you pull all the skin down to its tail. You wrap your fingers around the base of the tail.
Okay.
The meat side with the fur below your wrapped fingers.
Okay.
And then you just gently pull, and the tail and bone and everything will slide right out.
Okay.
And you've got fur. And then we use a mixture of cornstarch, salt, and baking soda in equal proportions. And in 24 hours, you got a skin you can bring in the house. Now, it'll be stiff. It'll be stiff as a board, but it won't stink.
Okay. Now, after when I start pulling the skin and I faint, okay, because I'm pulling skin off an animal, how long will I be out?
I would say no more than 7 to 10 minutes, Daniel.
Okay. And then I wake up and I begin to ripping that skin off that fur off the animal again. And then by that time though, I'm used to it, right? So I can keep on pulling.
Right. You should be. You should be. And if you start feeling queasy, take a couple of shots of bourbon, and it'll all be okay.
Yeah. Okay. Or if I start heaving, I mean, I could do that too. But okay. All right. So as I start getting that off of there, and then I wake up after I faint because it's grossing the hell out of me. But anyway, no. How do I know that thing's dead though? I mean, start ripping the skin off. I feel like the thing's going to bite me.
Well, what you do, if you're really worried about that, it won't hurt anything. Leave it lay there for an hour until it starts to stiffen up. Makes it harder to skin, but damn sure it's dead.
Okay, so what I want to do is I want to rip his skin off there while he's still warm.
It makes it much easier, buddy.
Now, is he going to disembowel himself? Like when I start ripping it, is he going to drop a load on me or anything?
Not a fox. A rabbit will, but a fox won't.
Okay, so the rabbit will drop a load, but the fox won't.
Exactly.
Man, I tell you what, it sounds like you've been out there doing it. So did you ever? I mean, did you kill deer like when you were young or something?
Well, yeah.
Well, how'd you learn all this? Well, how'd you learn all that though?
Mostly my uncle, who was a paraplegic from World War II. Mm-hmm. Yes, he was in a wheelchair, but my God, there was nothing the man couldn't do. Mm-hmm. And he taught me both how to hunt and trap and fish. My father was a used car salesman, and there was nothing wrong with him whatsoever. It's just that he worked 20 hours a day, and he never really had time to help me with much stuff. Mm-hmm. The only time we got to do anything is he'd take 2 weeks off a year, and we'd go down to the Florida Keys or somewhere like that, or up to Fort Walton Beach or somewhere, and we'd go fishing for 2 weeks. And that was once a year. And other than that, I normally didn't see my dad at all, hardly.
Hey, listen, we got one more question here from Mandy Thompson. This seemed like a good thing. She says, can you tell a short native legend from your grandma? Okay.
Yes. I'm trying to make this short. I know we don't have much time left.
But that's okay. And I want to hear it in its entirety. So if we go past, your time, 9:00, we'll go. I want to hear it.
Okay. Well, there was a story she used to tell me, and remember I was about 4 years old.
Okay.
And it was a story about a conch. Now, do you know what a conch is?
Heck no.
A conch is a big sea snail. Okay. You've heard of conch shells, I'm sure. Maybe even seen them.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I hope I get this right.
Okay.
She told me about this conch, and this conch was greedy.
Okay.
It would come and kill other conchs, which they actually do in real life. Oh. And it would kill, there's another word for them, you might know it better. They're also called whelks, W-E-L-K-S.
Okay.
Like I said, it's a type of shell that is like a big snail on the bottom. They get up to about 30 pounds.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, beautiful inside of the shell. But anyway, it was this greedy little conch, and he would kill anything. Crabs, clams, oysters, others of his own species. Mm-hmm. Well, the moral of the story is, or the end of the story basically is, this conch ate so fast that his shell couldn't grow. Mm-hmm. And he got caught in the shell, couldn't get out of it, couldn't grow it anymore, getting squeezed to death. Mm-hmm. Brother comes up to him and says, I can help. Conch says, how? He says, sit real still right here. Brother climbs on top, drills a hole on top of shell, eats the greedy conch. Says, see there, I helped. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but that was one of the stories. In other words, don't be greedy. And you'll get you'll reap what you sow.
Yeah. Okay. Now I can see that. I can get that out of that.
Yeah.
You got one more?
No. My memory, I'd probably mix up 3 or 4 and mess it up, to be honest with you.
Well, Tim, that just make for good programming, man. This isn't this isn't textbook over here. This is just the little edge broadcast that could. Listen, Tim Spencer of Rural Survival. We're at the end of the broadcast. Tell about your website again and what can people get on there.
Okay, well, it's ruralsurvival.info, RURALSURVIVAL.info. Now, the main thing people can get off there is information. Mm-hmm. We have got literally hundreds of free downloads, hundreds of articles. Okay. And these articles are not written by ne'er-do-wells that don't know what they're talking about. These are professionally done. We've got one lady that has her PhD in education that's written some wonderful stuff. Mm-hmm. We've got an engineer who became a fish camp owner up in Maine. Mm-hmm. He was an engineer forever, owned a big firm. He wrote some fantastic stuff. We've got a man by the name of Stephen O'Neill, quite literally a nuclear scientist. He has written incredible articles on there. We've got the talent is incredible that's there. Mm-hmm. I don't have time to maintain the site like I should. Okay, but I'm getting better at it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been on it, so it's a nice website.
Yeah, we try. I try at least. Mm-hmm. I bear the sole blame for that website. And also we do sell some products. We've got water filters that were designed and engineered by Professor James McCanney. They are ceramic filters with all the scientific information to back it, all the real test stuff, unlike unnamed competitors use. Stuff. I mean, it doesn't just take what his system does. It takes out the bad stuff, but leaves the good minerals your body needs, and that's its biggest claim to fame. Okay. We have a proprietary item. It's a flash drive that I've compiled 6.2 gigabytes of information on. Military manuals, how-to manuals, just a myriad of things and subjects. It's just incredible. $55.95, shipping included to the U.S. I really ought to have a money-back guarantee, but I can't because all somebody's got to do is copy it to their hard drive and say, I didn't like it. And that's the only reason we don't have a money-back guarantee, but we do guarantee against defects and all that. So that's something, the index, they click on the picture of the red and black flash drive, the index is on that page it goes to. It's 52 or 53 page index of what's on there. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's a huge amount of information. We have an alerts mailing list that we do, we being John Moore and I. Mm-hmm. We don't send out any advertisements on it. People pay $1 a month for it. Okay. What this is stuff, it's for information that can have a profound effect on people's lives, but is not covered or not covered properly in mainstream media. As you can imagine, John Moore and I have a myriad of contacts in high-level positions. We could easily go 3 months without ever sending out an alert, but then again, like during the Ferguson riots, we were sending out one daily. So it just depends on what's going on. And like I said, the site overall is, in my opinion, is just a fantastic resource. It's not an entertainment site. Yeah. It's a resource site. Okay. And we're not trying to get rich off of it or anything like that.
Okay. All right. Well, Tim Spencer, Grandma out of the live chat says she thanks you for your tips. And then she says she has a tip. She says, accepting Christ in your heart will have a profound effect on your life. And that's her tip to you.
Well, please tell her that I am greatly appreciative of her tip, and I will absolutely take it to heart.
All right. Tim Spencer, has been awesome to have you on, and I think we want to have you on again sometime, and when you can have Laurie on, because I think that'll be great. The way you talk about her is just awesome. I just love to hear those kinds of relationships like that. So,
well, I'll tell you something else. She's got an awesome radio voice. Right. You want to hear what she sounds like? Click on that video.
Okay, I sure will. Tim Spencer, you stay safe down there in the Big Mo, and we'll talk with you later.
All right. Thank you very much, Daniel. I absolutely enjoyed it, and I'd love to have you on our show sometime, too.
Very good. Okay. We'll talk later.
All right. Bye-bye, buddy.
Bye. All right, everybody. That was Tim Spencer of Rural Survival.info. And that sounds like Grandma. He's going to take your advice. He took your advice to heart, too. So he gave us some tips, and we gave him some tips back. All right. Well, next week, we're going to have Michael Heiser with us. It's going to be a great program there. If we haven't had a guest on the show you'd like to see, just drop me a line at edgam@yahoo.com. And then this program will begin to replay in the main player directly after the show. We'll extract the high-definition video and put it up in our main player, and then we'll put it in our TuneIn radio playlist. That is a wrap for the show. Daniel Ott for The Edge. Bye-bye.